So we also saw Alita, Battle Angel.
Alita!
Which was pretty fun.
I loved it. Alita, Battle Angel is the story about this cyborg doctor person in the future, I guess, of a post-apocalyptic Earth. And he finds this half cyborg girl kind of thing, and he's like, "You're still alive." And then he gets her, and then makes her body, so on and so forth. And then you find out that there are these people that are out to kill her, and other people robbing robotic body parts, and
That's the first, few minutes, yeah. The story of Alita is 20 episodes of an anime crammed into a movie.
if I were to sum this up, this script is a total mess.
Oh, yeah.
It's a very big mess, and yet I love this film. I've seen it twice. I almost saw it a third time. I was gonna, after Glass, I was gonna go see it again. It captivated me. And I think the reason why is that even though the script is a mess, a lot of the other elements really worked really well together.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. But yes, I think that the way that you described it was perfect in the sense that it felt like it was way too much exposition. A lot of the dialogue was exposition.
Yeah.
And it felt like that they were trying to explain so much to us. And when I was just like, oh, I really just want more character moments, please. Kind of helped itself because Alita, the main actress who played her, she... even though she was a CGI character, I didn't really ever get the sense that she wasn't.
Yeah.
And I really felt like that she emoted well enough to be like, I actually trust you. I get the feeling that you're actually a good girl, that you're a good person, you're trying.
That was the key to making this movie fun, was having her be such a likable and kind of magnetic presence on screen. And the way that they fused a live actor with CG, it worked really well. I was very skeptical when I first saw the movie. About the movie.
Yeah, when I first saw the trailers, if I could grab your glass, I would be like, oh, that's too much.
Yeah, you see a picture of it, it looks kind of cheesy. But in action, it works because it's just like the big eyes and the slightly exaggerated facial features are just inhuman enough that it communicates that she's not a regular person.
Yes, and that's what made the Uncanny Valley effect negate itself.
Yeah.
Because usually with Uncanny Valley, you have like Grand Moff Tarkin and Rogue One, and it's just like, ooh, that doesn't look very right, or Leia in Rogue One, and because you're trying to trick your audience to believing like these people are actually there. This one, it kind of works because you have these giant eyes, but so you're trying to tell the audience like, we're kind of trying to trick you, but not really. So it worked in its favor.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah. So I didn't find myself like looking at it through the movie going, that's not realistic. That doesn't look right. No, the effects really worked the whole movie, I thought. And there were maybe a couple of moments where you get a little like Uncanny Valley-ish.
Well, there were a few moments where I was like, okay, I can really tell you're CGI.
Yeah.
But other times,
but it was the minority most of the time.
Yeah, the script just like really was just, like it was enough for me to notice because I was just like, there's just so much in here where it's just like, doesn't make sense. Like, okay, perfect character moment. There's this whole thing about how she has been given this brand new body, right, that the father built for his daughter that died. Gives it to Alita, and Alita finds this cyborg body that was made specifically for her. And perfect character moment is like, he's like, no, I can't give it to you. And she says, but why? Why won't you give it to me? Because it's a battle droid body. That's the reason? that's the reason. That's like that's the reason. It's like, hey, Chris, I'm gonna give you some scotch. Like, oh, I can't do that for you, Spencer. Like, well, why not? Because it's scotch. Like, what the huh? It's just so dumb. It's just.
What makes it even worse is that at the end of that he says, "I'll never do this ever." And then like the next scene.
See, and that's why this doesn't work at all. It's because the entire point is like it's a perfect character moment where it's like instead of being like, he learns the errors of his ways, like, you know what, you're actually destined for this body. I'm gonna give it to you. She gets mauled apart. Like all that's left is her torso and her head and like just like a little bit of like her arms and all that. And so now he's just kind of forced to put her in the new body. And immediately after the scene that he puts her in the new body, he's just like, oh, look, you're so beautiful. And he even says, you're meant to be in this body. Or he says something. Remember?
Yeah, what he says is, no object is good or bad. It's what you do with it that matters.
Yes! This is so stupid!
Yeah. I think that is my biggest complaint with the script, because even if it's a mess, like in terms of a lot of threads, there's too much stuff going on, that's one thing. But when it's actually undercutting the emotional impact that it's trying to achieve, that's the problem. Because in that case, it's actively contradicting the thing you said before, which is like totally removing any impact it had. I felt that the motorball scenes in the first half of the movie, so like the first 2 scenes at least, they felt incongruous with the rest of the movie, because it's
like they were just thrown in there?
Yeah, I didn't feel they fit. I felt like the emotional state that she was coming up with leading up into them was different. Like, we never got a scene of her like, wow, I'm like capable of murdering people. That's a big deal. Like, I just fought these people off. And then she's just like laughing and having fun in the next scene with the motorball. Like, that felt off to me. It felt like 2 different plots that needed to be spread out further. So
yeah, and that kind of ties into what you're saying. Like, a lot of anime episodes put into one.
Right. So I'm not saying it's not right for the character, but I'm saying they felt too close together without enough breathing room, so that I felt like there wasn't like a transition between them.
And also, like, another moment that would have been nicer is when she's put into the new battle body. We're never really shown like how much more badass the body is or anything like that. It's just kind of shown like, oh look, you're in the new body.
It's kind of purple.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that like it can make a plasma sword or whatever, but that's it. We're never really shown like what else she can do. Like, we're never really shown like, okay, your old body can do this, and now your new body can do this. We're never really shown that. It's just kind of like you're doing the same thing.
Well, they did show like in the last battle when she gets stabbed in the side, it like heals itself.
Okay.
So I guess they show it then, but not earlier than that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, it would have been nicer to show like, because the father made such a big deal about how she can't be put into this body.
Yeah.
You know, and it would have been also, I don't know, it would have been cool too to see her like learn from her robotic body.
But they would have needed more time for that. So I think if they'd have taken out some of these elements of the movie, I'm not sure which ones. My initial thought was some of the motorball stuff.
See, but that's the thing, is that like there's so many things that they should have emphasized on. Yeah. I think that's what would have helped this film a lot. But that's the issue, is that there's so much in it that they need to emphasize on so much. So I think what really would have been better is that if this movie was a TV show, which I mean it was an anime.
Oh yeah.
But I mean either a TV show or split up a bit more, or just like.
Or miniseries at least.
Yeah, like a miniseries, or just like split it up a little bit more, because there's just so much that they need to explain to us, and there just wasn't a lot of time to explain it in, you know? It kind of suffers from what like a lot of fantasy films suffer from, which is we gotta get a lot of exposition in there in a really fast amount of time, you know?
And the exposition wasn't that good, I thought. Like, I thought the dialogue was a weak part of it. Like,
the dialogue is just...
It was pretty weak.
He says to her, like, I found no peace becoming a bounty hunter. And then literally about 30 seconds later, she says, did it bring you peace? Did you bring... Yeah. And then he says, no, it did not bring me peace. And it's just, oh, okay. Like, kind of repeating yourself there. Like, you know what it felt like? It felt like that they kind of recorded his part, and then they recorded her CGI part, and then they didn't really sync it up well. Yeah,
I think there was some mismatched like dialogue there in a few different parts. Like, we find out that he's the bounty hunter, and then he gets hit in the shoulder. He's got like flesh like poking out of his jacket.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's pretty bad. The very next scene, his shoulder's fine. Like,
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, he's like he's wearing his like scrubs when he's doing some doctor stuff.
Okay.
And it's just normal. There's no. So I feel like they must have shot that out of sequence, or they just missed that detail. There were things like that where that contributed to some of these scenes feeling like it wasn't really connected that well to the previous ones.
And I think this kind of goes into more territory of like, you know, the people that say you got to read the manga, you got to watch the TV show, but to them, I say that should not be the reason why you can enjoy a film.
Yeah.
If you go to watch film, it should do the job by itself. I don't want to go read no 300-page book. I don't want to go onto the Wikipedia or anything like that. The film should be able to tell you exactly what's going on in its own way. You know, it's the same, like, go read comic book. Okay, read the comic book. Okay, I get the comic book. Like, no, you gotta read 5 other comic books. Like, I don't want to read 5 other comic books.
Yeah, but the Marvel movies do not rely on you having read comic books.
Right.
You know, they don't say, oh, you're not going to get this movie if you haven't read Iron Man issue 255.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, no, you just come watch the movie. It's going to be fun.
I enjoyed seeing the motorball scenes. Like, the action in there was really fun. I really enjoyed it. But I would have actually liked to know, like, how the game's played. You know, I was kind of thinking back to, like, Harry Potter. You know, like, it's really simple to tell that, like, oh, here's the Quaffle, here's the Snitch, here's the Bludgers. Simple. I understand I understand what's going on.
Right.
And I feel like it would have added such a bigger element to it if I actually knew what was going on. So
they pretty much just grab the ball and then murder each other.
that's what it is. Yeah, that's essentially what it is. Like, they should just call it Murder Ball.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I was thinking to myself the name was. I'm like, that Murder Ball game was weird. Wait, that's not what it's called, was it?
Yeah. One thing I really didn't like about it, which I just kind of felt like was really cheap, and I was really surprised because I love Robert Rodriguez. Love his films. I think he's a great filmmaker. But they used the dog.
Yeah. It's a cheap appeal to emotion.
Yeah, a lot of times in film, like, they'll use a dog just to elicit a cheap emotion because it's cute, it's cuddly. If the dog gets hurt, you get hurt. It's just an easy way. You see a lot of it in horror films.
Yeah. And it seemed like a cheap way to make us care about her putting, like, those things on her face. It's like, that's dog blood? Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, and see, that's what it would have been more effective if it had more time. Is that, like, if you actually establish, like, an emotional connection, like if the dog actually came back with her, like, lived with her in the house or something like that, you know, and, you know, like, she kind of puts the blood on it, and that's another thing about, like, a qualifying moment where it's like, why is she putting the blood underneath her eyes? Like, there had to be, like, a backstory to her.
Yeah.
You know, because she's a battle angel or whatever. So, like, you know, you should, like, have a flashback or something, like, showing her putting on war paint.
Yeah.
You know, like, just, like, we need to know a bit more about this world or, like, what you're trying to tell us. Besides just throwing us in. You know, and I feel like a lot of people can, like, learn from, like, Lord of the Rings because there's so much exposition just thrown at you. But it's done so well. And I think that's why Alita herself works so well. Because in Lord of the Rings, you know, in the behind the scenes, they say we just cast John Rhys Davies as a dwarf, and you automatically know everything about dwarf culture. You cast Alita, I know you're a good girl, I know you're a good person, I trust you, things like that. Speaking of acting, I did not like Hugo.
No, he was a definite weak spot in the movie. And the acting was part of it.
And the way he just said things like, I'll show you my secret spot. No, Alita, it wasn't me.
It was doubly bad because the film wanted us to care about him and care about their relationship and then feel bad when he dies at the end. I did not care. I didn't feel anything from any of that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I guess we should go into spoiler talk now. But the guy kills Hugo, and then Alita is able to decapitate Hugo somehow, and then, like, attach the head to his heart. To her heart. She brings the head over, and then, like, they put it on this cyborg body, right? Only to have him die in the very next scene again. There's like, why couldn't you just have killed him? Like, there was no emotional impact by having him stay alive. Like, he only stayed alive for like 5 more minutes.
It really feels like they had a much longer story that they had to cram into a smaller space, because most of these elements would have worked better if they were stretched apart more.
Because at the very end of this, the ending feels very rushed and put together. I feel like what happened is it was almost kind of like the Hobbit kind of thing that was going on, because it felt so rushed that at the very end they were like, you know what, maybe we could try to squeeze another film out of this.